Shalom, shalom. Before I get started, want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Harakak double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, rule and teach well, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord, doing the same and teaching the same. All right, shalom. This will be a quick lesson. Haven't really figured out a title, but basically, the message is focused on you women don't panic. You know, they're worrying about Jacob's trouble and what if I'm in this situation, what if I'm by myself, or what if I got an unbelieving husband and things like that. Well, you still got to stay with that man, okay? You still got to stay with that man, even though he's not in the truth, all right? And you follow Great Millstone Doctrine, you still got to stay with that man, okay? And we're gonna speak on that as well, okay? So just because you believe in the truth of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, all right, and live according to it, all right, because this truth is a lifestyle, all right, that don't give you the right to leave your husband, okay? You know, I've been seeing, the elders, do different elders, all right, in different states doing videos, okay, and these women hidden on their typing on their comment board and coming with these different, their different circumstances, all right. So I'm kind of just backing off Elder Monarch Zagba. I seen one of the videos. He spoke on it. Okay. Which, every year we bringing this truth out. Every year we're bringing, these topics out. Okay. But you got to still got elect members. All right, that's growing in the spirit and got to eat the spiritual food, so to speak. Okay. All right, so pretty much that's the focus point. All right, and like I say, I guess the title may be to you elect women, don't panic. Okay, and this is not talking to the elect women that have elect men already. Okay, of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, you just supposed to continue doing what you're doing. All right, serving your husband, that man of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, all right, that prince of the power, okay, and Lord willing, you receive your reward, all right, for being obedient and reverencing that prince of the power, that your husband, okay, in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, all right. So we're gonna start off right here. This Isaiah 59:1. Behold, the Lord's hand, Yahweh's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear. One more time. Isaiah 59:1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy that it cannot hear. Okay? So you got elect members, they're they come from all walks of life, and they got different lots, different situations that they're in. Okay, you may have elect members, that's probably like and was in foster care and got adopted and whatever like that, but ended up finding this truth. All right. and hey, they had I forgot his name, but they had a young dude. He was probably like 14 at the time, probably like 14, 15, and he believed, in the doctrine of Great Millstone and in the names of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. All right. Now he was learning under Darasha, okay, but who knows where he's at now. But hopefully he's still a believer and he didn't follow Darasha into utter darkness. Okay? And even I had a cousin that was 11, I believe 11 or 12 years old. All right, either going on 12 or going on 13. All right, this was all the way like in 2019, 2020. Okay, so they're a lot older now. All right, but he even believed, but of course, he was parents going through his phone, siblings trying to sabotage him and all type of shit. So it wasn't for him, Just he ended up just stop following the truth, stop seeking the Lord. So it is what it is, All right. The elect is like gold tried in the furnace. All right. So let me go here. And I read Isaiah 59:1 to say that it's nothing that Yahweh Hashem Yahushua can't do. Whatever situation you're in, the Lord can get you out of that situation. The Lord can still save you, all right, or deliver you, all right, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to, and serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushua in sincerity and truth, okay? But, if you get weak, you get cold feet and go back into the world, that's on you. All right? You can't, that's on you. All right? You made that decision to stop believing. You got peer pressured. You got embarrassed of the truth of the Lord. You and things like that. All right? This Ecclesiasticus chapter 2, and from the top it says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation." Right, you're going to be hated first and foremost by your close kin, your biological family members that don't come into the truth. All right, or don't eventually come into the truth. Okay, they're going to make you out to be the weird guy, the oddball in the family. They're going to put you on blast, all right, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Not going too deep, but it was a situation where my one of my cousins, all right, he so-called tried to expose me and give, which they already knew what I believed in, but I guess they didn't know I had a YouTube channel, so he ended up just giving a bunch of my family members my YouTube channel, all right, and now he's catching holy hell. He's going through a lot, and turns out he's been doing a lot of talking behind my back, all right, but it all was done in the dark come out to the light, okay. Now he's his baby mama, as I should say, putting him on blast for doing a bunch of wickedness, having sex with transgenders, all type of shit, so the list going on. I'm not gonna speak on that, but it just goes to show you how the Lord destroy your enemies for them trying to destroy you. Okay, so it's nothing like you just keep your faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. All right, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Okay, all right, but mighty through the pulling down of strongholds. So it's a spiritual war going on. All right, 2/3, and and the scriptures say your foes, your enemy is gonna be that of your own household, your biological, family. All right, and they're gonna try to destroy you and try to, and things like that, try to ruin your, try to make you look crazy and all that stuff. But you still gotta trust in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Okay, they're gonna try to embarrass you or whatever like that, but you still gotta follow Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Okay, and keep this truth. All right. So it says, Set thy heart aright and constantly endure, and make not haste in the time of trouble. Okay? Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a lower state. Okay? So that's a warning slash it's a message to the hopeful elect. When you come into this truth, yes, your family gonna turn on you, all right, and that's no, that's what comes with the truth. You're gonna be hated by the world, okay? All right, so that shouldn't just push you out of the truth. All right, yes, pressure is gonna be applied when you come into the truth, okay? But you gotta stand 10 toes down for Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. All right, so it says, for gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Okay. So Salak, you about to get back to the topic. I know I'll be going into story time. All right. But this just goes to show you, every person that speak against or come against the Lord's little ones, all right, and the servants of the Lord, come against his prophets, they always end up getting exposed, or something bad end up happening to them. All right. So it says, First Peter 3 and 4. 1 Peter 3 and 4. It says, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah of a great price. All right, speaking to you women, okay? A woman supposed to be what? Meek, all right, humble, and of a quiet spirit, not trying to boss her man, but reverencing her man and things like that. All right? It's a time and place for it's a time and place for everything, okay? It's a time to speak, and it's a time to be quiet, okay? All right? Like, if you see your man having a conversation, all right, with another man, you don't interrupt. You hold your peace. You be quiet, all right, until the appropriate time to speak, okay? And these wicked ass women, they blow out of proportion, and they mangle the scriptures. All right, I'm talking about these black women that's in the world, and they literally holding meetings on the internet, these different social media platforms, and they just really they speak against having multiple wives. They pushing this doctrine that having multiple wives is adultery. All right, and no, that's not. Okay, that's not adultery. All right, which I'm gonna speak on that later. They just, they're enemies. They're enemies of all righteousness. Okay, so they ultimately hate Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah and his prophets. That's why everything we say they come against. Okay, excuse me. All right. So it says, and like you had this woman, I think that was on, I saw the video on Elder Manak Zagba page, but it had a woman basically saying, taken out of proportion, saying that women, can't think for themselves, and, she was just insulting, the hopefully elect women for being modest and subject to their husbands. All right, what you supposed to do that? All right, and our wives, they're a helpmate. They help their husbands. All right, they take care of the house. They help the husbands. Probably manage the bills. Grocery lists, etc., whatever. Okay. All right. Even when it comes to planning out trips or vacation, which we not in that time for that. Just giving examples. All right, you shouldn't be going on vacations and long ass trips, knowing Jacob's trouble, knowing that society about to collapse. All right, knowing that a race war, a civil war is about to pop off. Okay, knowing that cyber attacks is happening every freaking month. So you should be rooted and grounded. All right, watching and always praying in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, staying updated on prophecy on the news. Okay, so it says, all right, verse 5. Verse 5, it says, "For after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands." Right, being in subjection. You're honoring, you're giving glory, and you're honoring the Lord when you submit to your husband in all things, like the scripture says, being in subjection unto their own husbands. All right. So it says, and that's why the scripture says, what that is. Your desire should be to your husband. I'm gonna come back to this. Hold on. All right. I think it's Genesis 3:16. All right, Genesis 3:16. "Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee." Okay, so point blank. All right, so your desire should be to your husband. Like, you should desire the things that your husband desire. Okay. Are you supposed to be making that man happy? All right, not being a burden. Okay, let's go back here. So verse 6, 1 Peter 3:6. "Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well, and are not afraid with any amazement." Excuse me. 7. "Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel." All right, "and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered." Right. So the woman is not equal to the man. The woman is not equal to the man on any level, mentally, physically, or spiritually. The man is above the woman. Okay. All right. So it says, "Husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge." All right. And you got to understand, us being in this captivity, being in this sinful flesh. All right. Women are going to have fuck ups. It just depends on what type of fuck up. All right. And we're going to speak on that. Got the scriptures ready. All right. You're not supposed to just put your wife away for any old fucking reason. Y'all had like probably your first argument ever in say like 6-7 years, and you're like, oh no. you kind of you go overboard and you just kick it to the curb. You got that's why it says dwell with them according to knowledge. All right, and understand the times we're living in. All right, and they these women not gonna be perfect on this side. All right. Okay, it's they might be on their cycle or whatever. Certain time periods they be very needy. Okay. All right, so that's just dwelling with them according to knowledge. All right. So it says, all right, that's all I wanted, Salaki. So I was just giving an example on how to dwell with them according to knowledge. All right, so that don't mean you take bullshit. All right, that don't mean you let a woman talk to you any kind of way or move any kind of way. All right, hence the woman is subject unto the man. All right, she's obedient to her husband in all things and forever. Okay, so it's not a woman don't have picks and chooses when she want to be obedient to her husband. All right, that's 24/7 for eternity. Okay, so all right, let's get the next precept. Matter of fact, before I get Deuteronomy, I want to get let's see. I'm gonna get 1 Corinthians 7 right quick. All right. This 1 Corinthians 7 and 10. And unto the married I command, yet not I, but the Lord. It says, let not the wife depart from her husband. All right. So you're not supposed to leave your husband. All right. Sex is marriage. Okay. Sex is marriage. When you the first man you had sex with, you that's your husband now. Okay. And vice versa. That's his wife now. Okay. So you're not supposed to leave him. Okay. All right. So it says, but and if she depart, let her remain unmarried. Okay. Or be reconciled to her husband, and let not the husband put away his wife. Right. So if you just leave your husband, all right, and he's still alive, you can't marry another man. All right. You got to stay a widow. Or like I said, unless y'all separated for a couple weeks or whatever, and then ended up getting back together, or being reconciled to her husband. All right. So it says, verse 12. But to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother hath a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. Okay? Plain and simple. All right? Long as she respect your mind and do what you tell her to do, and she respect Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and this truth and the elect, okay? Yeah, you keep her. Now, if she being wicked, like if she just don't listen to you and she dressed like a complete whore and roam around and go wherever she please and do whatever she do and don't listen, and then that's probable cause, to kick her to the curb. All right, to cut her off from your flesh. All right, that's understandable because she being a complete demon. She don't respect you. She don't respect the truth. She talk to you in the kind of way. She dressed like a whore, and she do what the fuck she want to do. Well, then, bitch, get on. All right. Or like the scripture say, unless she out here committing adultery, all right, of course, kick her to the curb. All right, it's no second chances when it comes to a woman committing adultery. All right, you don't get a second chance from that. Your ass get kicked straight to the curb. Okay. And I know you're gonna have weak-minded men that be like, well, the Lord forgave us for worshiping other gods and things like that. All right, come on now, like you really gonna use that angle? But it says, verse 12. It says, but to the rest speak I, not the Lord. If any brother have a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. Okay. And the woman which hath an husband that believeth not, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. Okay. So even though to answer, which the Akim Great Millstone, they did a great job dealing with these topics. I'm just lambacking off of it and doing the video as well. All right. So it says, for the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. All right. Else were your children unclean, but now are they holy. All right. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases. All right. But Yahweh Shem Yahushua have called us to peace. Okay. Yeah. So your siblings is a whole different thing. Okay. You don't have to put up with their BS, or you don't have to put up with them. You know, the fact that they don't believe. All right. You know, you don't have to still have them, you know, in your inner circle, so to speak. Okay. So it says, for what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband, or how knowest thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? All right. So it's all according to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay. All right. You know, and all that's saying is your unbelieving wife, like I said earlier, as long as she still respect you in this truth and she ain't doing nothing wicked, you know, just off of your coattail, so to speak, her being under your umbrella, she can still get delivered. Okay? And likewise your children. All right? You might have children, all right, that's of course you try to raise them up in the truth, but you know, different men got different issues. All right. You know, your children, you might have children with a different woman, and she's worldly and wicked, and she's your baby mama, and you know, she really raised your children, and you didn't get the chance to raise your children. You know, you're on child support or whatever, but you got another woman that's, you know, a believer, okay, and she's following you in the truth and things like that. All right, but your children still respect you. All right, even though they see you from time to time, you know, and they still obey your, you know, your wishes and things like that. All right, they can also, you know, get saved off your coattail. All right. You know, when that time comes. All right. Which that's what brothers pray for. You know, brothers got different situations, you know, and they pray if, you know, Lord willing, their children, the Lord may have mercy on their children as well. Okay. You know, if they separated and whatnot. All right. So this Matthew, I'm gonna kind of speed it up too. I know I'm probably at about 30 minutes. All right, this Matthew 19:3. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? All right, and the answer to that is no. Okay. All right. So it says, all right, it says, and he answered and said unto them, have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? All right. And to give an example, you know, you can't put away your woman just because she wrecked your car. Okay. Or she lost your debit card, or, you know, or she dropped and broke your phone. And you you know, you can't just put her away because of that, okay? You know, even though you're gonna kind of be pissed off in the, you know, but about the car wreck, you still don't want to make sure she okay. But at the same time, you like, what the fuck? You know, like, getting a car ain't easy in this society, and keeping it ain't easy as well, okay? So, you know, I understand the frustration, but, you know, you can't put her away just because she wrecked your car, okay? So that's just to give you an example, all right? So it says, all Verse 5. And said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. All right, because sex is marriage. All right, so once that woman and that man have sex, now they're joined together. They're married. Okay. All right. But of course, before that, you got the ceremony, you got the celebration, and things like that. All right. She's before they have sex, she's betrothed, promised to that man, and that's understood and declared. Okay. All right. So it says, verse 6. It says, wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. What therefore the Most High Yahweh have joined together, let not man put asunder. Right. Okay. So it says, they say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? And he saith unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning it was not so. Okay. All right. And you can't you can't be like in that spirit of IUIC. They in that over righteous spirit. They in the laws, the statutes, the commandments. Like, they thinking you can be saved and justified by the keeping of the law. All right. You still keep the law, statutes, commandments to the best of your ability. All right. But it's mainly about faith. All right. Being what? Pre-selected by the Lord, predestined by Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah. All right. But it's about faith. Okay. Having faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shah, and show your faith by your works. Okay. So it says, and it says, and I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away doth commit adultery. Okay? So yeah, you're not supposed to just kick your woman to the curb for any old reason, and then you get with another woman. All right? Which nothing wrong with having multiple wives. All right? Christians and people that don't know the Bible, they'll try to use this precept to say you can't have multiple women. All right? Yes, you can have multiple women, but it's a time and place for that. All right? And it's it got to be done decently and in order. All right? Okay? So, and it got to be in righteousness. Okay? But it says, let's read it again. And I say unto you, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery, and whoso marrieth her which is put away, doth commit adultery. Right? Because she's still married to that man. Okay? All right? When you marry your husband, y'all together forever. All right? To death do you part. Okay? All right, so it says, let's go to the next precept. So like Elder Manak Zakba said, all right, you're supposed to make it work, okay? Make that relationship work. All right? And like the elder said, if you leave that man, you got to be single forever. You got to be a widow. All right? You can't get with no other man, all right? And the scriptures, told you that, all right? So let's go. Let's see, I might end it. Okay, got that. Yeah, I'm gonna just end it. Okay, I think I hit the point. So like this thing froze. All right, so Lord willing, that was edifying. Want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah is 144, 1244, 144. Call her Allah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. All right, want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Double honors to the elder apostles, great millstone, rule and teach well, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord, doing the same and teaching the same. Shalom.